my wife said. "The kids and I are leaving. Don't try to find us," I responded. "Okay." Then I activated the GPS trackers on the going-away gifts I bought them. 24 hours later, the police were thanking me. I, 42 male, am sitting in a house that is suddenly way too quiet. The only sound is the hum of the refrigerator and the clicking of my keyboard. An hour ago, my wife of 15 years, Lena, 40, stood in this very spot, right by the door, and delivered her big speech. "The kids and I are leaving," she said, her voice trying for firm but trembling just a little. "I've packed our bags. We're going somewhere you won't find us. Don't try. This is over." She expected a scene. Tears, begging, yelling. I know she did. She's always thrived on drama, on big emotional reactions. It feeds her. I looked at her, standing there with her hastily packed suitcases. My son Leo, 12, and my daughter Maya, 8, looking confused and scared behind her. My heart twisted for them, not for her. I just nodded. "Okay." The single word threw her more than a screaming match ever could. Her face flickered through a series of emotions. Shock, then anger, then a flash of something that might have been fear. "Okay, that's all you have to say?" she sputtered. "You've clearly made up your mind," I said, keeping my voice even. "Arguing seems pointless." I then turned to my kids. My voice softened. "Hey guys, looks like you're going on a little trip." This wasn't a psychic prediction. For the last few months, Lena had been distant, talking about feeling trapped and needing a real change. At the same time, I'd noticed financial oddities in the statements for the small marketing firm I owned. It wasn't a huge leap to connect the two. So I prepared a contingency, not for a fight, but for information. I walked over to the hall closet and pulled out 2 backpacks, a sleek, black one for Leo and a sparkly unicorn one for Maya. "I know you guys have been wanting new school bags. Might as well start using them now." For the kids, this wasn't unusual. I often bought them practical things out of the blue. But stitched deep into the lining of each bag, near the base, was a tiny, wafer-thin GPS tracker. A few weeks ago, feeling a gnawing sense of dread, I'd ordered a pack of 3. The third one I'd placed on the underside of the spare tire in her car, just in case the backpacks were left behind. Overkill? Maybe. But my gut told me something was fundamentally wrong, and I needed to be prepared to protect my children if things went sideways. Lena eyed the bags, a flicker of annoyance on her face. This wasn't in her script. She wanted to be a martyr, a brave woman escaping a broken home. She didn't expect me to facilitate her exit with practical gifts for the children. She snatched her purse, herded the confused kids out the door, and shot me one last look of pure venom before slamming it shut. The second the car pulled out of the driveway, I walked back to my office, sat down at my computer, and opened a browser window. I pulled up the tracking app. 3 little dots blinked to life on a map, all moving together. Heading east. She said not to find them. She never said I couldn't watch them. This isn't about control. It's about consequences. She thinks this is an escape. She has no idea it's a cage of her own making. And the real kicker? The thing she doesn't know that I know? It's not just about her leaving me. It's about what she's running to. And who she's taking my children to meet. Let the show begin. Update 1. It's been a wild 48 hours. The 3 little dots on my screen have been my primary source of entertainment and validation. Lena drove for about 6 hours, finally stopping at a cheap motel just off a major highway several states over. I watched them settle in for the night. Seeing my kids dot stationary in that crappy motel room ignited a cold, hard anger. This was her choice, her mess. My job was to protect my kids from the shrapnel. The next morning, a new development. The dots moved to a diner, and then they were joined by a 4th person. My tracker app can't identify people, but I had a pretty damn good idea who it was. Let's call him Darren, 45. Darren is, or rather was, my business partner. For the last 2 years, I'd suspected money was trickling out of the company. I'd been quietly compiling evidence, spreadsheets, transaction logs, questionable invoices. I had a mountain of data, but I was missing the final piece. Where the money was going. Lena handed it to me on a silver platter. After breakfast, her car, with my kids inside, followed another vehicle to a new address. A quick search revealed it was a newly leased house in a quiet suburban neighborhood. This is where my calm plan kicked into high gear. This was never just about a cheating wife. It was about a coordinated attack on my life. I didn't call Lena. I didn't call Darren. I called Detective Miller. Miller is a sharp guy in the Economic Crimes Unit. I'd met with him a month ago, presenting my financial findings as a potential internal fraud issue without naming Darren, wanting to understand my legal options. He'd been blunt. Without proof of where the stolen assets went, it was a difficult case. He told me to call him the second I had concrete, actionable proof. "Detective Miller," I said when he picked up. "It's me. The potential situation is now an active one. I have a name, bank records, and, as of 20 minutes ago, an address where the stolen funds are likely being used." I explained that my wife had taken my children across state lines without my consent and was now cohabitating with the man I believed had been embezzling from me. I told him the address. "The police don't just act on your word and an app." Miller was professional but cautious. "Sir, I understand your distress. But parental kidnapping claims are complex, and a GPS dot isn't enough to raid a house. However, the financial crime aspect is something we can act on. Email me everything you have. I'll have to coordinate with the local PD in that jurisdiction. This will take some time. Do not go there. Do not contact them. Let us do our work." The next 24 hours were agonizing. I hired a family law attorney, a shark named Helen, and gave her the entire story. She immediately started drafting an emergency custody petition. Around 8 p.m. tonight, my phone finally rang. It was Miller. "Okay," he said. "Your file was incredibly thorough. Local PD sent a car for a welfare check on the kids, standard procedure based on your report of parental abduction. When your wife answered the door, they saw my primary suspect, Darren, in the living room. That was enough to confirm his location." He explained they didn't arrest him on the spot. They waited. An hour later, Darren left the house alone in his car, and they pulled him over and took him into custody on the fraud and embezzlement warrant. Miller said Darren was completely blindsided. As for my kids, Miller said the local officers described the situation as tense. Lena was hysterical, screaming that I was a monster. The officers determined that removing the children from a volatile environment with a non-guardian present, now that Darren was arrested, was in their best interest. They were taken to a local child services center. "She didn't ask for a lawyer," Miller told me. "She kept screaming for Darren. She's building a narrative that you fabricated all this to get back at her for leaving. You were one step ahead the whole time, weren't you?" "I just pay attention to the details, detective," I replied. "I'm in my car now. I've been driving for 4 hours. I should be there to pick up Leo and Maya and another 2. I packed their favorite snacks, their pillows, and the dog, who's been whining in the back seat, confused about why half his pack disappeared. I feel hollow, but clear. The part of me that might have mourned my marriage died a long time ago. All that's left is a father, and that father is going to get his kids." Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since I drove through the night. Seeing my kids in that sterile government building, that image is burned into my brain. Maya just buried her face in my jacket and sobbed. Leo tried to be brave, but he was trembling. "I'm sorry, Dad," he whispered. "He's a kid. He has nothing to be sorry for." Step 1 was getting them home. Step 2 was reestablishing security. Step 3 is dealing with the architects of this mess. Darren is out on bail, his assets frozen. His lawyer knows the evidence against him is overwhelming. The trial is months away, but his career is over. Lena is the real piece of work. The entitlement is breathtaking. After being questioned and released, she started blowing up my phone. I finally answered, putting it on speaker while I made the kids mac and cheese. "You bastard," she shrieked. "You had him arrested. You humiliated me. You traumatized your children." I calmly stirred the cheese sauce. "Lena, did I traumatize the children? Or was it the person who ripped them from their home to go live with her boyfriend, a man who stole from their family?" "Darren is a good man," she insisted. "This is a misunderstanding you've cooked up because you can't stand to see me happy. You're trying to ruin our new life." Our new life. The delusion is astounding. "Lena, there is no our new life," I said flatly. "There is only Darren's future court date and our future custody hearing. I suggest you find a lawyer." Then I hung up. A few days later, my lawyer, Helen, filed the emergency custody petition. In the virtual hearing, we presented the police report and the timeline. The judge, seeing the evidence of parental abduction across state lines to cohabitate with an alleged felon, didn't hesitate. She granted me a temporary emergency custody order. For now, Lena has no visitation rights, pending a more thorough hearing. This is when the dirty tricks started. First, the anonymous CPS call alleging I was an alcoholic and the house was unsafe. I knew it was her. I calmly invited the social worker over. She found a clean house and 2 kids doing homework. I showed her the police report and the temporary custody order. The case was closed in an hour. The social worker gave me a weary smile. "We see this kind of retaliation a lot," she said. The real revenge, though, wasn't something I did. It was something Lena had already done. In the process of securing our home life, I started going through our shared electronics. Lena had been the one who set up the family's cloud accounts, our tablet logins, all of it. On the family iPad, which she'd wiped before she left, I initiated a data recovery process, telling Helen I was looking for any financial documents she might have stored. What I found was better. The recovery software pulled up fragments of deleted chats from a messaging app. Chats between Lena and Darren. It wasn't just an affair. It was a business plan. They discussed the embezzlement, debated how much they'd need. And then I found the message from Lena that made my blood run cold. Dated 3 months ago, she wrote to Darren, "He's not a fighter. Once I have the kids, he'll give me anything to see them again. The house, the business, all of it. He'll fund our new life and won't even know what hit him." I screenshotted everything and sent it to Helen. Her reply was a single word: checkmate. We now have a preliminary custody hearing scheduled for next month. Lena thinks this is a battle over who gets the kids on weekends. She has no idea she's walking into a legal massacre where her own words will be the primary weapon. She thought I was a resource to be drained. She's about to find out what happens when the well runs dry. Final update. It's been 6 months. The dust has settled, revealing a landscape permanently altered. The quiet in the house is different now. It's not the empty silence of absence, it's the peaceful hum of a new normal. The legal battles are over. As predicted, they were a massacre. At the custody hearing, Lena tried to paint me as a controlling, vindictive husband. Her lawyer, a clearly overwhelmed public defender, did his best. Then Helen presented her evidence, the police reports, the CPS call, and finally the printouts of the recovered chat logs. She read Lena's message about using the children as leverage aloud to the court. The judge's face was stone. Lena just crumbled. The final custody ruling was decisive. I was granted sole physical and legal custody. Lena was granted bi-weekly supervised visitation, which she has to pay for herself. After her 3rd visit, where she reportedly spent the entire time trying to convince the kids I was the villain, she stopped scheduling them. She couldn't afford the fees, and I suspect she couldn't stand seeing that her manipulation no longer worked on her own children. The divorce was finalized last month. It was just as brutal. Her final, desperate play was to claim she was a victim of coercive control from Darren. It was a pathetic attempt to recast herself as a victim. It failed spectacularly. Darren, staring down a 10-year sentence, had taken a plea deal. To get a reduced sentence, he agreed to testify against his co-conspirator, Lena. He provided the prosecution with his own set of messages where Lena was the aggressive one, pushing him to take more money, calling him a coward when he got nervous. His testimony, corroborated by my evidence, painted a clear picture of her as the plan's architect. The judge was scathing. The house was protected. It was purchased by my company, an LLC I established years before the marriage, so it was never a marital asset. Due to her deplorable conspiracy to commit fraud against the marital estate, she was denied alimony. She walked away with her personal belongings and a 10-year-old car. She was also ordered to pay child support, a significant portion of her minimum wage income. Her new life with my money had vanished. As for the stolen $200,000, it's gone. Spent. The business insurance company is still giving me the runaround on my fidelity bond claim. They might cover a fraction of it eventually. It doesn't matter. The business is recovering because I'm working my ass off, not because of some easy payout. Life is better. It's strange to say, but it is. Without the constant tension of Lena's moods, the house is lighter. Leo has gotten really into robotics. Maya's art is all over the fridge. We have a routine. We have peace. They are in therapy, and it's helping them process the mess their mother created. I had a moment of vulnerability last night. I was watching an old home movie from a vacation years ago. Lena was in it, smiling, laughing with the kids, and I felt a pang of something. Not love, not regret, just a sad acknowledgement of the sheer waste of it all. The person I thought I married either never existed or died a long time ago, replaced by a greedy, entitled stranger. I have to live with the fact that I missed it for so long. A few minutes later, Maya came and sat with me on the sofa. She pointed at the screen. "That was before Mom got sick in her head," she said, with the simple, brutal honesty of a child. I looked at her, my smart, resilient little girl. "Yeah," I said, my voice a bit thick. "It was. The revenge wasn't the courtroom drama. It wasn't the financial ruin she brought upon herself. It was this. The quiet, boring, wonderful peace of a Tuesday night. It was my son showing me the robot he programmed. It was my daughter correctly diagnosing her mother's moral failings. It was the justice of a life reclaimed not by a grand scheme, but by simply holding on, telling the truth, and letting the consequences fall where they may. She tried to burn my world down. She just ended up clearing away the dead wood so something new and better could grow. And it has.